Hello, Bournemouth fans, and welcome to episode 5 in the series, the AFC Bournemouth Best 11, the Eddie Howe years. And you can check out episodes 1 to 4 on our channel, and it also might be in the card at the top of the screen. And in this episode, we're going to start on the midfield. I've got 2 new guests joining me very soon, but please do help this channel grow to 500 before the season starts. We're over 460, so let's keep that going. And if you enjoy what you see in the next 20-25 minutes, also give this video a like. Let's get on with episode 5 then. Let's move to right midfield and get our guests on. And we've got some returning guests. We've got Keithy T. How you doing, Keith?
Not too bad, Skipper.
And we've also got Dan, who I think started off the series as well. How you doing, Dan?
I did, yeah. I'm doing very well. Got football training shortly, so looking forward to that and looking forward to doing this.
Okay, so the goalkeeper and defence are done. We're going to start on the right midfield. But first of all, we have to cover off the rules as always. Just in case you're checking this out for the first time, what we're trying to do with this series is if a player has signed or played an appearance under Eddie Howe, we're going to debate selected players. We'll choose a certain number of contenders, create the best 4-4-2. And then at the end, we're going to choose a player or players, depending on the episodes. We might have one more position, one extra position to fill. And we'll decide as we go through the episodes what that team's going to look like. Happy with that, guys?
Looks good.
And we're going to move to right midfield. And let's just have a look at the pool of players potentially that we could have put into those contender lists. And as you can see on the screen now, we've got the likes of Liam Feeney, David Brooks, Jordan Ibe, Wes Fogden, Harry Wilson, McDermott, Juan Turbe, had to get him in there, Matt Ritchie, Junior Stanislas, and Josh McCoy. There might be a couple of others that we've missed out as well. Let us know in the comments if we've missed any. But from that list, Keith, any that you remember as good times?
Young Josh McCoy. He had that purple patch, didn't he? Did he get something like 3 hat tricks in a row or something ridiculous like that? So rapid and quick. Shame he went to Millwall and ruined his career.
And we will show the 4 that's coming up, Dan. But from that list, is there players in there that you've got a lot of time for?
It's interesting that I saw a Turbe there. He was a disappointment. I don't know how he's managed to get on this list, but he's got to have an honourable mention, I think.
Do you know what?
Second South American player we've ever had, am I right? Him and Lerma, the only 2. But because I remember seeing compilations of him, like the next Messi, when we signed him, didn't really deliver. But there you go.
I don't know what it is with your teammates that you have on with you, Keith, but that's a yellow card, Dan. Okay, that's your warning. Already. Because Juan Turbe, I just can't have a bad word about Juan Turbe. I've got a lot of time for him. Didn't statistically do anything amazing at Bournemouth, but he was just a legend in my eyes. That player we got from Roma, he played in the Champions League, and I think we were in League One or the Championship at the time when he came in. But there we go. There you go. You're on a warning there, Dan. A long way to go before full time as well. But the 4 we're going to be debating today is David Brooks, Liam Feeney, Matt Ritchie, and Junior Stanislas. So they have made the cut. Are you happy with that, guys?
Yeah, indeed. Yep, definitely.
Right, we're going to go to the wheel then and see how this is going to play out. And do you know what? We'll go with Keith first because Dan picked up that yellow card. So let's head over to the wheel. We always bring the wheel into play. It's been a big part of this series. And we're going to go for Keith. And your first choice to debate.
Got the music going.
Oh, my word.
Here we go.
VAR.
Just
inside the blue is David Brooks.
Oh, well. It's a tale of 2 cities with this one, isn't it? When he first came here, first 2/3 of the season on his debut, he was absolutely incredible. I mean, it was a goal against Brighton, isn't he, where he twists in the air and does all that. And you just say, what a player. But he's had terrible injuries, and we've got to bear that in mind. And he's still quite young. But I don't know. Last season he disappointed me a little bit, and I wanted to see him push on. So he's tremendous talent, and if he put his mind to it and really knuckled down and focused, and hopefully he does it with us this season, he could be a real player. But love him when he's on form. Not so keen when he's not on form, as you probably remember when I was talking about Derby. Or if Dan remembers it very well, I'm sure.
Still a current AFC Bournemouth player. 14 goals there, though, Keith, and he's probably made the cut, like you say, for that impact that he had initially. And do you know what? Talking about impact, he did score a lot of big goals in that season for us before he got that really bad ankle injury. I remember the goal he scored against Crystal Palace at Sky Sports All Show, and that one against Chelsea. And I actually think that's where he picked up his ankle injury when he celebrated.
Yeah, there's a grain of truth in that, isn't it? It's sort of like, I don't know, had a twinge or something like that. Yeah, I wonder. It's strange how injuries come about, but he has been dreadfully unlucky. And they're difficult injuries to come back on. And you're coming back into the Championship, you're up against big fullbacks and centre-backs and who like to bully. And I don't know if it's within his mind, but he just, for the one player he was to the current player we saw last season, it's like chalk and cheese sometimes, but he's still, one of the best right wingers we've ever had. So you've got to put him in contention, and potentially he could go on an amazing run and be an amazing player. So it's an interesting one, but it's one of our more controversial picks, I think.
And a quick mention from you, Dan. I mean, a player that generally needs the ball to roll for him, but on his day can be a top footballer. Consistency always gets marked against him. Yeah,
Keith pretty much summed it up brilliantly there. It really is like chalk and cheese, and it's so frustrating because we know he has the talent. We've seen that in his season in the Premier League. He was so good, and I think that. I imagine a big part of it, I think, is a mental thing alongside of his injuries, coming down from the Championship, from the Premier League, maybe thinking like he should be in the Premier League, and then not performing here. Because we've seen glimpses of him this season for sure. I remember early on, I can't remember who it was against. It might have been against like Huddersfield or something like that. I can't remember, but he had a great performance. I thought he's back. He's going to get his form back, but it just didn't quite. Just wasn't really his season, but there's always next season if we keep him. So fingers crossed he can score a few goals and get a few assists and that.
Okay, David Brooks down, 3 more to go. We go back to the wheel for Dan then, and who is Dan going to get next?
You think I know who I'd want.
Go on, trepidation in it, Dan. Trepidation.
Oh no, it's gone past. I'm happy with any of them.
Oh,
that ain't a bad second. There we have it. Second, Matt Ritchie. Didn't spend too many years at AFC Bournemouth, but what an impact he had at the club.
Yeah, what a player. And there's rumours for him that he was going to return, wasn't there? And he played such a crucial part of us getting promoted. And what was that goal? For the record, I am awful at remembering specific goals in specific matches. I just remember the goal. Where he chests it down and volleys it.
Sunderland.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah, he's had some brilliant performances for us over the years, and always gave his all. It was such a disappointment when he left, because he left when we were in the Premier League, obviously. And I think at the time I remember thinking that Newcastle was arguably a step down for where we were progressing back when he left in 2016. So it was a bit of a weird one. And I think that whether he stayed at the club and continued putting in good performances, I feel like his career has gone a little bit like that since he has joined Newcastle. He sort of developed as like a fullback, hasn't he? There. So he's got a different role, but great memories of Matt Ritchie.
And I always heard good things about Matt Ritchie, and you saw it on the football pitch about how he trains, and on that match day, the work he would put in for his teammates. Yeah. He was good going forward, but God, he would put a shift in going backwards as well, Dan.
Yeah, that's why I just mentioned. Yeah, he always gave. Like that's what I love in a player, regardless of talent and natural ability and whatever you want to say in that aspect. I always like players that are, you could say, overachieve because they give their all and they put in a shift every single game. They work hard for their teammates, especially, and you can really see that on the pitch. And it's weird because like a lot of the players on this series that we're doing are players that are being selected are the ones that have overachieved and come from rather than our Premier League players, which is quite weird. But I think that is the case. We've developed the development Howe got out of a lot of these players was exceptional. He developed so many of these players into Premier League talent, and we've got some players in the Premier League that maybe haven't worked out and have been kind of underachieving. So I think we have, and obviously the journey I think helps with these players have been on. You have that connection with them. So yeah.
And we just talked about big goals that David Brooks scored in the Premier League, Keith, and what goals Matt Ritchie scored. I remember that Championship promotion season. He scored one against Sheffield Wednesday to get us a 2-2 draw at home. Yeah. That was a big goal. The Bolton one, obviously, to give us that breathing space after Pew. And Charlton. You like that Charlton game. And he set the tone at Charlton as well.
Absolutely. Played a role in the Fulham game as well. So many games he's played in. If you were to describe an Eddie Howe player, Matt Ritchie would be one. Yeah. He's exactly an Eddie Howe player. Upset Palio Di Canio, left Swindon, and then just took off with us. It started off a little bit quiet, but you could see straight away with work rate, energy, getting back, working for his team, the ultimate professional as well. There's a lot of people out there who think he's their favourite player. And, brilliant lad. Really good. And, maybe at Newcastle, but they think he's a legend up there anyway, considering the dross that they've had. So it's all good. And I could see him going into management. He's got that temperament, hasn't he? And that he's really articulate. The podcast that Sam did, brilliant stuff. So top man, really top man.
Let's go back to the wheel then. 2 players left, 2 different types of players. We've got Liam Feeney and we've got Junior Stanislas. So who's Keith going to get next? Shall we see?
Nerves.
Oh, you're just gonna get Liam Feeney.
No issue at all. No issue.
And you know what? You talked in the last episode that you were on, Keith, about really enjoying that -17, and he played a big part in that -17. Liam Feeney, over to you.
Yeah, no, Liam, you can't go wrong. Everyone remembers the Grimsby game and Fletcher's goal, but of course the opener was Liam. And that low drive in and just passing it into the net. Work rate, really worked hard. He came from non-league football. I believe he came from Weymouth.
I want to say Salisbury.
I think it's either one of the two. I know he's like, and came in that snowy January transfer window, and he came to us. So it's just what we needed. His energy, his work rate, his determination. Maybe not the most technically gifted of players, but for what we needed at the time, we needed fighters, and he was one of those outstanding players. Again, took to the team straight away. Again, another Eddie player. I think he went with Eddie to Burnley, didn't he?
Not sure on that one.
Chat will tell us if I'm right or wrong, but he was just for the time we had him. He's exactly what we needed, and I will ever be grateful for what he did. And that -17 team, as I say, I think it's a legendary team. Not for the perhaps technical, but for the fight, and it's brilliant.
Let us know in the comments. Eddie did take quite a few players to Burnley, and Liam Feeney has been around the Football League quite a bit. You talked about that goal at Grimsby. That was to get it back to 1-1 before the famous Steve Fletcher goal. Do you know an interesting stat, Keith, was that Liam Feeney scored 14 goals for AFC Bournemouth and we won 13 matches out of those 14 goals that he scored.
That's a Philip Billings stat right there.
That's an omen there. But there's one game he scored in that we lost. And do you know what team that was against? And you've already said it.
Would that be Grimsby?
It was against Grimsby.
Yeah, the first time, the away leg.
Yeah,
I definitely, I remember that.
So that weird that he scored 2 big goals against Grimsby, but we won one and we lost one, and that was the only time we lost when Liam Feeney scored. You mentioned quickly, Dan, in a previous episode that you remember Liam Feeney. I know some of these players, you were very tiny at the time, but you did mention Liam Feeney.
He was, I think, if I remember correctly, he was the first, because I was like 8, I think, that he was the first player that I think I remembered playing and being first player I remember being my favourite player, I think. I can't tell you much more than that, but I must have thought he was good must be my favourite player for some reason, probably because he was quite good. I must have had him in my FIFA career mode at some point or something like that. From what I do remember, he was a good footballer, which is good.
Okay, let's go back to the wheel for our final. Sorry, Keith, did you want to?
I was just going to say he would have been one of the star players in that team anyway. So, it's not surprising Dan remembers him because he was a bit more of a standout than, say, some of the other ones, but it's all good.
Let's go back to that wheel then. It should leave junior Stanislas, and we just check, don't we, Dan? We just make sure that it's all done properly, and junior Stanislas should come in. And a player that's now still not an AFC Bournemouth player currently, but with us since 2014. Some call him Stanislas, but what a talented player he is on his day again.
Yeah, what a player. I mean, Lionel Messi's a free agent at the moment, so what can you take from that? Hopefully he signs a new contract, and what a player. I've always really liked Stanislas. He's shown a lot of passion, a lot of fight for the club. He scored some good free kicks as well, haven't we? He's one of very few players that can hit a really, really good dead ball. I'd put him up. He'd be right up there in the conversation of best free kick takers in English football system. I think he'd be in the conversation for sure. I think because he can really, really strike a dead ball. I remember one was against West Brom. I think it was. I remember hearing it before I saw it, and there was this one corner he could hit, and he hits it perfectly. I thought, oh God, he's obviously a penalty taker as well, our best penalty taker as well. And not only that, but as technical ability, I think he was fantastic. And obviously we saw that incident with Surridge and Stanislas this season, which we don't want to see, but it just goes to show he cares a lot about the club and he cares about the performances. He wants the best. And what a player for us.
And on this episode, Dan, we've talked a lot about goals already. Yes. We're not even on the strikers yet. Mm-hmm. Everton comes to mind for me. I remember him scoring a goal in the south stand from outside the box, from the right, curling to the left post. And then I remember we went 3-2 down late on. And I remember the game was over. I was ready to walk. I never leave a game early. And Owen said to me, don't leave. We'll get back in this game. I have a feeling Stanislas will score. And it was really weird because 30 seconds later, we put the ball in the box and he headed for the equaliser.
Oh, I remember because I was kind of the same. I wasn't at the game. I was watching the coverage on Sky Sports, and they went to Chris Kamara, and he usually does his unbelievable Jeff, and he was completely speechless when it happened because remember all the Everton fans went on the pitch, they created almost enough time, that extra minute. For us to get the goal, and I remember Eddie's reaction, everything. It just even the commentary, everything about it was just brilliant, and he's created so many great memories for us, and a real professional, I think.
And Keith, like Dan alluded to just moments ago, there was parts of Stanislas' game that could be frustrating. Sometimes you'd say, does he care, or he'd have a little bit of a strop, and then he had that moment with Sam Surridge, and I was really frustrated on that Wickham game when I was lucky enough to be in the stadium, and I was really angry with him after the game. But on reflection, I think, like Dan says, he's just really passionate and he just wants to do well.
Yeah, Definitely. Again, a very Eddie type player. He came from Burnley, obviously came with Eddie. Very, really gifted technically, could play as a winger, could play, certainly in his earlier days, he was a little bit quicker and he could play that wing, but he could also play as an inside forward. And some of the as I say, the goals, the Everton goal, I mean, my word, that was the turning point. That was the turning point, arguably, for the next 4 years, because that was the start of our fight in that first season in the Prem. But he's a really good guy, and he cares, and he's passionate. He's got technical ability. He's lost a little bit of pace, and sadly, his injuries haven't let his career just drive on as it would have done. Because had he been fit, I'm sure that at least a top 8 team would be looking at him. He had that technical ability and a great work rate, but it'd be interesting to see what happens with his contract. Is it time for him to move on? Is it time for him to stay? That's a really hard call, and that's probably one of the most difficult conversations that are going to be had. But nonetheless, another legend, isn't he? Another legend.
Another legend, and here we go again. That's all the talking done. This is your 30-second warning. Who are you going to pick for that right midfield to play ahead of Simon Francis? So a reminder of your choices then. You've got David Brooks, Liam Feeney, Matt Ritchie or Junior Stanislas. And coming to you, Keith, first, going to need to put a position ahead of Simon Francis. Let us know who you're going to pick and how you come to that decision.
All the other players are really good, but for sheer consistency, delivery into the box, fight and determination and scoring outstanding goals, it's got to be Mr. Ritchie, I'm afraid. So all the others have a great shout, but Liam wasn't here long enough really to blossom into that career. I don't think we've seen the best of Brooks, and Stan unfortunately has been hampered by injury. But Ritchie and Frano, that's terrifying down that right wing. So yeah, brilliant stuff, and hopefully others will agree.
Brings back good memories. And Dan, are you going to follow suit? How are you feeling about this, and who are you going to pick?
It's really, really tough for me, actually, because I'm actually torn between Stanislas and Ritchie. I think that David Brooks I think that technical ability, and we've seen he can do some amazing things, but I just think that he had that one season and then he's sort of been struggling. So for that reason, Feeney, as much as he was my favourite player, don't remember enough of him to make a good judgment on that. But I think to make it, I'm assuming you're going to go between Ritchie and Stanislas, because I think, like in a previous episode, I think Stanislas deserves at least a point. So I'm going to go with Stan and leave it to you to make the final decision.
Oh, good shout.
And that's fair play, Dan. That's fair play. And I've got to stop doing this to myself, haven't I? I need to start going first again. I said at the start of the series, I'm not going to do this, and I've started to do it. So that's a vote for Ritchie and a vote for Stanislas. Yeah, I think David Brooks has showed glimpses of a player that he could be. Had a brilliant first season and hasn't really kicked on apart from the odd game. Liam Feeney was a great player in that -17 and scored a massive goal. And ultimately, like Steve said, Keith, in a previous episode, if it wasn't for players like Liam Feeney, we might not be having these conversations today. However, Stanislas, a long-serving player, played over 150 appearances, scored big goals, been very versatile. And then you've got Matt Ritchie, someone for me who's just that special talent, scored good goals. Like Dan said, technically good goals as well, knew exactly what he was doing with the ball. But that partnership with Matt Ritchie and Simon Francis down that wing was just something that was just a joy to watch. And you can't come across that in every team. And for me, the pick has to go to Matt Ritchie. It just would not feel right to not have Matt Ritchie playing alongside Simon Francis. So there we go. There's the right midfield, and the midfield has started. Simon Francis at right back and Matt Ritchie also ahead. And Dan, I'll just come back to you there. I know you got a vote in for Stanislas, but I know you're going to be pretty happy that Matt Ritchie's in there.
Yeah, I think that I probably would have gone for Ritchie, but I think I wanted to make it, I want to make it a bit interesting. I think that Stanislas deserved a vote. But yeah, definitely more than happy with Ritchie being there.
And maybe, Keith, we might see him in a Bournemouth shirt again. You never know.
It'd be interesting to see. Certainly, as a fullback, that was one of the weak positions we had last season on both sides, to be honest. Yeah. So he will bring experience. I don't know if it's going to be the same player as he was when he left, but nonetheless, his professionalism, his leadership role, and I mean, he was a strong character on that pitch. You know, even Frano got it in the neck if he wasn't performing. So he expects the highest standards, and be interested to see what Scotty, if he wants to bring in that experience. I'm sure he'd be interested. I believe his house is in Ringwood is still there. So let's see what happens. But it's a long way to go yet.
Keith, great to see you, and thanks for joining me on this episode and filling that right position. Dan, great to see you again, and also thanks for your support on this episode.
No worries. Thanks for having me on.
Brilliant, thank you. Brilliant.
Thank you to you, the Bournemouth fans, for checking out this episode. So Matt Ritchie takes that position on the right midfield, and we'll also be sorting out left midfield in the next episode. Please make sure you give this video a like and also subscribe. Help us get to 500. Look after yourselves from me, Keith and Dan. Until the next episode, we'll see you soon. Up the cherries.